So somehow, I've made 3 videos before this one, and I've already gotten like 3 or 4 comments on YouTube. And so that's kind of interesting. Amazing the way that they've built this algorithm to spy on all of us so that my video can get to you because it's actually relevant. Disgusting. One of you was asking, Isaiah, are you okay, man? My first video was entitled, Men, or if you're suffering, watch this. Because they were like, dude, I think that this video, you're talking about men, and I think you're talking about you, Isaiah. Well, viewer, I forget your tag. Yeah, the video is also about me. Life is hard. And just because I'm doing well doesn't mean that life isn't hard. For a lot of men who are not doing well, life is very hard. And I remember for the majority of my life being in that position. The family situation I grew up in was not good. Abuse was everywhere. I mean, rampant and chronic. Really even lasting up until my early teen years, the physical abuse. And there was the constant screaming and the sexual abuse and various things. And other family members outside of my immediate family causing issues with my childhood as well. We moved away from my extended family when I was quite young. I was 6 years old, so there was a bit of isolation as well because we had a lot of cousins growing up, and they were my best friends. And so to suddenly be 1,300 miles away from my cousins was a big shocker as a 6-year-old kid. And both my parents worked, both my siblings were older than me, and so a lot of the time my older siblings would be watching me after school. And I guess my older brother, he just always kind of had a violent, he enjoyed punching, let's say that. And when they enrolled him in Taekwondo, I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they were thinking that the martial artist teaching of, we aren't teaching you to fight, we're teaching you to not have to fight. Well, a 9-year-old kid doesn't really understand that when you're showing him how to break a board with his fist. And then his younger brother walks up and does something annoying, and, well, maybe he'll try and break your nose with his fist. And that was always fun. Anyway. Yeah, I'm doing well. I would say for a lot of my life, I was like at a -8 out of 10. Sometimes even as low as a -9. And that's kind of at the realm there of ideation. It's been a while, been a long time, been nearly a decade since it's been that bad. But I'd say now, as far as my life conditions, the circumstances I'm in, and then like my general experience of life, I would say I'm at about a 4 out of 10 for what my preference for life would be. But at this time, it's a positive 4. That is a 12-point increase from -8 out of 10. And I think that there are a few things that would make my life more close to my 10 out of 10 preference. But that's just a work in progress. That's how it is. I'm still young. So as far as my actual experience emotionally, it may be like an 8 right now, an 8 out of 10. I really do feel well in my life. But I look out into the world and I am sometimes shocked and shaken. There's a lot of suffering and a lot of people who are completely unaware of why they're suffering and what they can do about it. That's why I want to talk about shadow work on my channel at all. I've done a lot in my life of healing and getting better and increasing the awareness that I have of my own patterns and my own contributions to my mental state and all this. Because even in spite of the things that I've been through, and it's my responsibility to open myself back up to life and heal. And because I've done so much of that and taken that responsibility, I have a lot to say about the process. One of the things about awareness is that a lot of the time you'll never find answers to questions that you've never thought to ask. And a lot of the time you won't ask the questions unless you're forced to, because if you're not in a position where you have a problem, I think the problem is what defines the question. And if your life is going well, there's not a lot to think about. I think that this is somewhat exemplified in the story of Abraham in the Bible. I mean, if you ever listen to Jordan Peterson, he talks about that a lot, where Abraham was in his 70s, I think, by the time he finally took up the call to adventure and stepped away from his father's house and did that voluntarily, as Jordan would say. And I mean, you compare that to somebody like Noah, who saw that there was trouble brewing and he took the steps in advance to build the ark. And then somebody like Job, which I relate to a lot more, who's suffering. And Job doesn't just suffer and get beat down by it. He suffers and he still rejoices in the Lord. And I'm not religious. I grew up Mormon and I lost the faith, which was another universe explosion for me, and also destroyed almost every single relationship in my life when I left the church. I had a lot of healing to go through with that as well. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to. I relate to Job because Job said, life is hard, and that doesn't mean I have to die inside. I imagine Job may have been somebody who looked at the world and said, wow, this hurts. What can I learn? How can I rejoice? And so all these questions and these problems and these awareness issues that I've run into in my life have basically put me in a position where my inner psychology is dedicated to finding ways to look at life and to say, wow, this is hard. What can I do and how can I rejoice? And it's with these feelings that I come to this channel. And it's these feelings that I invite every viewer to really just wrap themselves in. And if I can find a way to get better over time at conveying that aspect of my message, that's what I want. I would love for everybody in the whole world to take a look at themselves and their struggles, to learn from them and to reintegrate their lives, the little aspects of themselves that they've shoved away in the name of, well, maybe even just getting along with the people around them or making peace temporarily, smoothing things over. If we could all just look at the parts of ourselves that we've rejected, and even the parts of our lives that seem so difficult that we want to forget about them. I mean, they say that God's eye is on the sparrow, and a lot of people will say, yeah, that means that he's also watching over me. The thing is that God also sees the sparrow getting eaten by the snake, just like he watches you suffer. And if you can't love God, even though he sits there and watches you suffer, then I think all that's left is anger and blame and pain and resignation, resentment. And no wonder so many people who lose their faith in life, and maybe God if you believe in God, no wonder so many of them destroy themselves. It's hard to love a God who could see so much pain and allow it, but I think it's what you have to do. And it's also what you have to do in yourself and how you have to look at your life. You can't just say life is sunshine and rainbows and positivity everywhere, because that's not life. And why would you have to make life into just like a caricature of itself in order to love it? Why would you have to lie to yourself to say that life is just beautiful and positive when there's this little part in the back of your head that says, man, sometimes it's just hard? Why can't you just love that too? It's extremely hard to love that too. There's just as much beauty in that part of life. It's a part of our experience and we should honor it. And it's there for us, for contrast, you can't really understand all that good, positive, happy, fun stuff. At least maybe you would understand it, but you would definitely not appreciate it as much as you do in contrast to the difficult things and the parts of life that are ugly, I guess. So leave comments down below. I mean, ask questions, get involved. If there's anything that you see that I could help with in your life, questions that you have about what is shadow work, what is it really, how can you do it, how can you get better, ask away. I want to help. That's why I'm here. Thanks.